Gautama Buddha said, mind is everything. What we think, we become. Since mind is what brain does, brain is the measure of everything. Welcome to Brain and Beliefs, where we have conversations about mysticism, religiosity, spirituality, and brain science. My name is Vivek Palavali. Throughout the millennia, humans have been thinking about death. What happens after death? Is there life after death? Is there a soul or consciousness that leaves the body and enters another world once life ceases on this earth? Is there a heaven for the good and hell for the evil waiting for their souls in the afterlife? People of different religions believe in different answers to these questions. Some who had near-death experiences claim visions of what awaits them after death. Patricia, who had a near-death experience from carbon monoxide poisoning 20 years ago, had glimpses of heaven. That experience transformed profoundly her attitudes towards life, death, and afterlife. Have you ever thought about death?
I think about death constantly, especially at night, because sometimes I feel lightheaded or funny in the head, and I feel that maybe the Lord is coming to get me. My desire is to go now. If He came to get me right this minute, I'd be gone.
I was curious to hear what made her so eager to leave this life on earth.
I want to see my friends that died. I want to see my mother. I want to see my husband. And I want to see Him.
She had visions of Jesus Christ during her near-death experience and wanted to go with Him then itself, but was told that it was not time for her to leave this earthly life yet.
My daughter and her husband have a really good life. They're very happy with their jobs. They're very popular, well liked, and have a lot of friends. And I'm a burden to them. They don't like to be bothered with anything they have to take care of. They prefer to live their life, and they're young, and I don't blame them. I was that way too when I was young. And I really have no place here on earth.
I wondered if there was a more profound reason why she feels like she doesn't want to be on this earth anymore and how it affected her fear of death. But you don't fear death anymore.
I don't feel death?
No, you don't fear. You're not scared of
Oh, absolutely not. I fear life, but I don't fear death, no.
And what's the reason why you don't have any fear of death?
I just told you.
Because you think you will go to heaven?
Yes, I know I will. I've had glimpses of it. I know it's there.
I couldn't wait to hear about her glimpses of heaven. Well, when you say glimpses of heaven, how does it look? What do you actually see?
It looks wonderful. There's no grief. I had no remembrance of any grief. I had, in fact, when I died in the motor home, I think I was dead for about 45 minutes. I had no remembrance of my husband. The Lord had to remind me, or of my daughter, or of my son, or any bad things, or the bad back that I had trouble with, or being bedridden or in a wheelchair.
This is something that many who had near-death experiences claim that there was no suffering or pain. Patricia experienced not only such feeling, but also much more.
Everything I knew at the time was wonderful, and I heard beautiful music. And since then, I've had angels sing to me. Since the surgery, I've had angels sing to me. And they sang me a song that I wrote down one time.
Being with angels in heaven and listening to their music is very tempting. No wonder many yearn to go to heaven.
I know that it's wonderful there, and I won't know any grief anymore or any sadness, And the whole world makes me sad, what's going on, of all of the drugs and the death and the poverty and of the sickness. And when I was in the hospital, it was just full of sickness and people dying and people facing death and not knowing what they're facing or what's going to happen after. And most people you talk to don't know. And that grieves me.
This is the emotional angst of sadness and suffering that every human experiences. The essence of humans is to be happy and not be sad or suffer. But is there more to heaven than just being away from sadness and sickness and being with angels listening to their angelic music? Now, when you see heaven, it's beautiful, do you actually have some visions of a physical description of how it looks, or it's just a feeling that you feel everything was fine?
I haven't been allowed to go in because the Lord said that I wouldn't return if I did. But I have seen the gates. I have seen the river of life. I have seen a huge palace that God is in, and the glory coming out, and the waterfalls coming out of there.
To have eternal life and be with God and be happy and joyful is a wish that many yearn for. The kind of God the believers envision depends upon the religion they practice. Since Patricia saw Jesus Christ, I expected her to say that she would see Jesus Christ in the palace, but was surprised by her answer.
And you can't see God because God is love, and He's everywhere. If you see somebody that has love, that's God's Spirit. It's the love of God. And I'm not talking about romantic love between a man and a woman or any. I'm speaking of someone that supernaturally has love. And I've had that. And I've seen the river flowing, and I've seen the rocks, and I've seen the rocks of color singing. I've seen the birds singing, but I haven't been allowed to go in. I saw the tree of life and I saw the fruit on it. Looked like golden pears. So I know that's what's waiting. So, I mean, would you be afraid of death if you knew it was waiting?
Oh, I know. I don't think so. So
No.
that's a very hopeful idea.
Yes.
With no fear of death and a powerful wish and desire to go to heaven after death, I wondered what Patricia felt about living.
Well, I only hope that while I'm here, the Lord left me here, is to help others. And my only hope is that I can help someone so that they can find what I have.
You mean your experience?
What I have with the Lord.
It is not uncommon for those who have visions of heaven, angels, and gods to spread the message of what awaits after death. I wonder if Patricia felt like this was her purpose for the rest of her life on earth. I see. Do you discuss that with any of your family or friends?
Yes.
And what do they say when you explain this?
They listen, and I go to the senior center where half of them they got one foot on a banana peel and the other in a grave. And half of them don't know where they're going. And they're very interested in me. I wear hearing aids because I don't hear all that well, except when the Lord's using me, then I hear. And a lot of them mumble, and I can hear them. And they ask me a lot of questions. And two of them have died since then. And one of them is on hospice, I guess that's what you call it. And one is full of cancer, started in the lungs, and it's even in his brain now. And he stares at me with his mouth open. And the only thing I'm hoping is that if I can prevent one person from going with Satan, then it was worth the suffering. And why the Lord allowed me to have this tumor is that reason, and why He allowed me to have the surgery is to use me. That's one of the reasons the Lord told me to come back.
I was curious to hear the reaction of the others who heard her story.
Now, when you discuss your experience with them, do they believe you?
It's hard to tell because they look at me in shock. I'm well liked there. When I walk in, everybody crowds around me. And a lot of them believe me because they talk about it. The ones that don't talk just stare at me. I don't go in and push and boss around and try to preach. I just sit and I'm very quiet, and I'm told I'm quiet. But if I'm asked or if it comes up, then I'm like I'm out. Now, if someone asks me, of course.
They never argue with you or dispute what you say?
No, if they say one thing against it, then I shut up. I don't argue.
There is bound to be friction between various beliefs.
What do they say when you say against what you say? What do they say?
One lady said, I don't want you to push your beliefs on me. And I said, good, I don't like that either. I will not do that. One man said that he believed in something else, that there was no life after death. And I said, you must be very frightened then, because you have no idea what's going to happen to you. He says, yes, I am. And I said, well, if you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. If not, I won't. It's your call. And now this man has taken several turns for the worse, and he's starting to lose his mind.
When you said you must be frightened, did he say he was frightened?
Yes, he said he was very frightened.
About?
Death. And if you mention death at a table where we're playing cards, it becomes very quiet, and everyone gets a scared look on their face. And they even quit playing cards for a while. They all freeze. And I just say, well, I won't talk about it, but if anybody wants to talk to me, I'm willing.
I would be scared too to think about or talk about death. This is the existential fear of every human, to be aware of their own mortality. It is not easy to be willing to talk about death, even if it is impending.
You are not fearful of death because you have this hope of eternal life in heaven.
Yes.
Do they not want to have the same hope and believe what you say?
I believe so, because they're asking questions.
I'm sorry, you're saying that they do want to have the same hope as
Yes.
you are.
I had a conference in another room after it closed one time, and 3 came in, and I talked to them. And sometimes I play the piano there, and some have asked me to play hymns, and I might say something after I play a hymn. I would say 50% of them would be interested. They have churches and they have their own minister, and I think they're reluctant to hear another belief.
How about the other 50% who are not going to church?
They're scared and they don't want to talk about it. One fell one time and she was terribly afraid, and they called an ambulance. She wouldn't get up or anything. She was just afraid.
That she was going to die?
I guess so. I couldn't get near her. There was a crowd around her, and I wouldn't be able to talk to her anyway. So,
Well, again, Mrs. Robertson, I'm so grateful. I'm very appreciative of it, and this has been a very fascinating experience. And it was my pleasure to know you. You have been a very good patient.
well, you've been a very good doctor.
I appreciate it.
You pulled me through whatever that was.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I hope I can use this as part of a documentary.
So do I.
Patricia's story made me even more curious about soul, consciousness, afterlife, heaven, angels, and gods. Do these supernatural entities actually exist, or mere figments of imagination rooted in our own brains? Please join me in the journey to explore the worlds of the spiritual, the metaphysical, and the 21st century neurosciences research to find answers to these profound questions.